Hey, what's good, people? It's good time. Hey. Man, it's been a hot minute since the Mancave archive struck. I guess the Empire Strikes Back again. And so tonight we're coming with a lot of energy. We're coming with a lot of talk on what's going on with the video game market, movies, TV shows.
Kanye West. Nah,
Please no. Please no. Not the gossip.
Hey,
sound like a bunch of females. Well, what I heard, nah.
One thing I'll say about Kanye, and I tell all my friends this every time. I told them that way back in the day when they were like, "I can't believe he's doing all this for Trump," and I told them, whatever Kanye may actually believe or not believe, when he was saying whatever for Trump, guess what he had coming out? An album. When he had his beef last year with Drake, guess what he had coming out? An album. Now when he had this whole thing with Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson, guess what he has coming out? An album.
Another album.
So,
yeah.
They said on Instagram, and we can move off this topic very quickly, but they said on Instagram that he gained in 3 days 1.5 million followers on Instagram. And I went and I put it on our account, but I commented on the post that controversy equals marketing. You know, it is what it is. I mean, what's her name? Miley Cyrus, when her career was on the downturn after Hannah Montana, guess what she did? She went the new Miley Cyrus, and all of a sudden became very controversial, and her career was on the uptick again. Eminem was made an entire career off of controversy. Floyd Mayweather went from being Pretty Boy Floyd, where he was knocking dudes out, but all of a sudden he fought Oscar De La Hoya, became the bad guy, realized, oh, this is what people want to see. And from then on, it's like there's more people buying Floyd's pay-per-view to see him get beat up, hopefully, than there are people buying his pay-per-view cheering him on. But guess what? It all makes all makes money.
At the end of the day, that's the craziest thing about that approach in life, is that it may not make you a lot of friends, but it'll make you a whole lot of money.
It makes you money.
Yeah, exactly.
Kanye West, he's now getting all hyped up. He's getting all his controversy stirred up. And guess what's going to happen when he drops down to 2? All these new people coming in. Let me listen to what he got to say. I wonder if he's going to say something about Kim Kardashian on the album.
Yeah.
Or if he's going to say something about Pete Davidson on the album. Or if he's going to start spazzing out against Kid Cudi or whatever. You know? You know, there's so many different storylines going on around right now. And, you know, you're going to have all the gossiping men doing their reaction videos, you know.
Oh my God!
I mean, it's just, he's a genius marketer, if you ask me.
Well, remember, there's one, if you go back, Chameleon had this one video, it was talking about 50 Cent. He said him and 50 were really, really tight, they were really close. But 50 had taken the occasion to go ahead and diss Chameleon, because that was when he had Riding Dirty, he was riding real high. And so, you know, he was thinking that 50 would be happy to see him be successful. So they seen each other at an award show, and he talked to him in the behind stage, and 50 grabbed him by the collar and just pulled him inside of a room real quick. And he told him, he said, "Man, that was your opportunity to make some money." He said, over in Mumbai, I believe it is, in India, there's a newspaper right now. He said, if you had said 50 can go to hell, he said, that you saying that would have been on the cover of that newspaper, and that would have made you some money right then and there. So it's kind of like what you're saying is like, I don't think it's so much important, and I think this is where we have to kind of get back, and it's where we jump off it, I guess. If you have anything else to say about it, you can, but I would end it with, you know, that's why you can't believe people who get paid to be famous.
Or any of these individuals, and I'm a fan of a lot of YouTubers or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of YouTubers who make their money reacting to controversial content.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good way to get some subscribers, because it's like, what did he say? You know, it's always
and then having the breakdown and the unpacking of it.
I mean, so again, it's a good way to get attention.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna get you the viewers and
love Joe Budden for it. I'm a big Joe Budden fan, and I love his unpacking and stuff. So definitely.
But well, what's some of the top stories y'all want to hit on?
Man, well, if I can, let's because we were just making a joke about how we only hear the negative. We have a negativity bias. My brother and I, we were sitting over here just chopping it up, and it was really live. I love whenever I have these discussions with them. But rather than jump into like the negative, overly critical, can we all just give Nintendo a round of applause, please? I mean, my guys, Nintendo, 100 million Switches sold when everybody told you this was it. You don't do this, it's over. You're not successful, you're done. Nintendo has literally sold on average more than 22 million consoles per year. It's been released. They're still set to have another big, incredible year.
They're not even at the 5-year mark yet.
Oh,
I
man.
think that's like March 17th is coming up.
Yeah.
That was the Switch's release date.
So they are literally kicking behind, taking names. And the funniest thing about it, what I love about it, is that both Microsoft and Sony have the wherewithal to realize Nintendo has developed like their own niche, and they're no longer trying to compete with Nintendo for it. In fact, if you listen to a lot of the video game prognosticators, reports, and everything like that, they don't even count Nintendo as in competition to Sony or Microsoft, because if you did, you'd have to literally say they're whooping them hand over fist. But the great news about it is Nintendo isn't even going at them like that. I love the fact that Nintendo has actually developed a bit of a relationship with Microsoft as well as Sony, to where they've been able to kind of play as like a hey, we're not competing, we've got our own way of doing things. And so it's definitely been dope. I've loved every single second of it. I can't wait to play the next Legend of Zelda when it finally comes out.
Supposedly still has.
I heard it got delayed. Some people were saying it got delayed out to 2023.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, just because unless Nintendo is basically having a move of we're waiting until E3 to drop a boatload of information on it, there's just been very little to, if anything, coming out about the game. And I'm not mad about it, to tell you the truth. I mean, I would rather a good game than a rush game. I think the thing is, and I think, what we never seem to really take into account, because honestly, Nintendo seemed to have gotten right into developing Breath of the Wild after finishing Breath of the Wild 1. So when you consider that, there really was no break. They actually said they were making DLC for Breath of the Wild, and then they turned it into Breath of the Wild 2. And when you consider that, and it's still taking them over 5 years to develop, or let's say near 5 years to develop.
Yeah, another 6 years cycle. Yeah.
So I just think these games, and we're not used to it, but we should. It's not just happening to Nintendo. Grand Theft
Auto
Grand Theft Auto 5 will be 10 years old next year. In September, I think, something like that. September, I think it was September of 13 that Grand Theft Auto 5 came out. But regardless, it was 13 that 5 came out. Now it's not coming out this year, so it's at least going to be 10 years, and it's probably not coming out. I've heard some people say
2024.
Yeah, 20. So that's what's happening in our industry, and that's why I feel like, to be honest, the whole console is going to eventually phase out, possibly, because what's a console even going to be anymore? I mean, it's going to, you release a console every, let's say, 6 years, and when you get one out there, you just get one really good game per game to come out. It's not like Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3, Final Fantasy 10, 10, 2, and 12. It's not like, God of War 1, 2, 3.
Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas, and Vice City.
Vice City and 3. You had 3 Grand Theft Autos on PlayStation 2. We're not living in that era anymore. The games are too big. There's too much detail. There's, too much money being put into them, to the point where you're not going to get a game every 2 years anymore. It might be every 10 years. And then what's a PlayStation 4 going to be, basically? I think, you're talking about Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out after Grand Theft Auto 4, right? 5 came out at the beginning of, or close to the beginning of the life cycle of the PlayStation 4. you're talking about 6 coming out near the end of the life cycle of the PlayStation 5, or very deep into it at least. When did the PlayStation 5 come out now? How long has it been?
It's been 2020.
Yeah, it came out in 2020. You're talking about potentially a new Grand Theft Auto in 2024. And I've really heard 2025 or 2026. I mean, just people speculating, but
It's speculation, but because the owner, Rockstar, Hauser, one of the brothers, he said that development is already well underway.
Yeah,
for Grand Theft Auto 6, because they're pretty upfront. Rockstar is on the game's development. Like when everyone was waiting for Red Dead Redemption 2,
yeah,
they had first teased it, but even there, he was like, guys, this game is like years away from like coming out. I think the first teaser trailer for Red Dead Redemption 2 was like 2015, at the end of 2015. And then we got another media blowout in 2017. And then the game got delayed until 2018, and it didn't eventually come out until November of 2018. So talking about teased in 2015, but not really released until a whole 3.5 years later.
yeah.
You know, these lifespan, these cycles are taking forever. Plus, the games are making boatloads of money now as well. Breath of the Wild has sold like some 27, 28 million copies. I wouldn't be rushing out a sequel either.
And Grand Theft Auto, they say has crossed over 100. What was
exactly, exactly. It's on its way to 100 million. You're talking about the original Mario Brothers game territory. So it's like it's unheard of. I would say the only thing I would say about developers is don't. I mean, you kind of have to build up, things for like the stock, because it's a business, so stock value goes up when you announce a game is coming out, so we as gamers have to take that into account as well. So when a developer says, hey, this game is going to be out in 2022, okay, stocks are going to go up, people are getting excited, buzz is being created, and then you have to announce in the beginning of 2022 game might be getting delayed. That was a marketing tactic. Sadly to say, it's marketing, because the end of the fiscal year is about to come up in March. CDC is about to happen up in the gaming, to where you're going to be getting different, meetings going on, conference calls of Nintendo making this amount, because last year they made $17.1 billion. This year they're probably going to make a similar amount. Microsoft and Xbox are going to be making a crazy amount of money as well. So it's like it's marketing, it's stock market. We as gamers have to think on a bigger scale instead of thinking of like the 80s where it was a lot of companies just making games out of a hobby. Now, I mean, the gaming industry is bigger than the movie industry.
Yeah,
that's how big it is.
I throw this out there too. We also have to remember, because it's like, we were talking offline earlier, a lot of the stuff is just beginning again. The Nintendo 64 was announced, or when it was called the Ultra 64, back in 1994, and it didn't actually release till 1996 winter. And during the Ultra 64, they had early screenshots of Legend of Zelda and Mario, and even Final Fantasy. A Final Fantasy build had been put on the Ultra 64 that never came out, by the way. And on top of that, to make things even more interesting, Mario 64 came out in 1996. Legend of Zelda didn't come out till late 1998.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a 4-year span on a Nintendo 64, which wasn't a great. It was the very first pioneer on 3D, which is something to be said right there. But if you take a moment to really, really consider the significance of that, you're talking about a brand new pioneering era in doing 3D gaming. Now let's look at what we have today. There's unprecedented tapestries of art. It's like we were talking about earlier. I've looked at the video game consoles as palettes, as like true canvases, and having in a limited amount of a palette of different colors. While as a PC, every year they're trading out there. It's Andy Warhol all over again with the 60s industrial art revolution. They're just moving and moving and moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. I mean, can you believe the Campbell soup can at one point in time was considered to be contemporary art?
Yeah.
So we're talking about with the current console. What's happened is that we've moved on to a more industrial age to where now we're trying to go in depth now with video games. Like, last time I checked, they had real-time weather inside of Red Dead Redemption. Last time I checked, they had real-time weather conditions inside Legend of Zelda. They had real immersive experience where you could hear the rain and it sounded accurate to rain and whatnot. So these games they're not like, where the most was oh, that's the most powerful gun in the game. That's not what it is anymore. Today, these guys are trying to make true experiences on that level. Like when you talk about a Rockstar, a Nintendo, a Square Enix, heck, even Microsoft and Blizzard, who else now? I think it was Bungie now with Destiny series. They're trying to make truly immersive experiences. And so they're going to use technology that allows them to do that. And that technology costs a greater amount of labor, time, and effort in order to build that. And so we're talking about, like, I remember they showed the PlayStation 5 a couple years back. They showed how the character had picked up a pebble and thrown it. Well, it didn't just hit the ground, it echoed and echoed and echoed and echoed. It did all of that. How much technology are they using that you're making something that accurate?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I feel like none of that gets used though. They create all this great technology. And then like you were talking about with this new Horizon, with the fill the pop-ins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that technology actually gets used.
Yeah.
So you're going to see, for example, I don't think anything that we're seeing on the PlayStation 5 currently is that superior to Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn, amazing looking game. I don't think you're seeing something on this generation that's blowing anything out of the water yet.
No, you're not going to.
I don't know that
for a while now.
Yeah, and so what I'm saying is that I think, unlike when you had a jump from the SNES to the 64, and then 64 to PlayStation 2, and then PlayStation 2 to 3, I don't think you're seeing those sort of things where you can just tell, like, yeah, this is a PlayStation 5 game.
Yeah, it's more so on technical sides.
You couldn't do this on PlayStation 4. And then just like that, even just on the technical sides, it's like, I feel like we went from a world where you didn't have to have somebody go, like you were talking about with Final Fantasy VII.
Going through an alley.
You didn't have to have someone go through an alleyway so you could populate or load the rest of the game and on the PlayStation 3. So why is that all of a sudden becoming a thing on the PlayStation 4?
Yeah.
I think because we've gotten top heavy. I think these video game consoles are very, very top heavy now. They're trying to do everything in a burst because you got to consider 4K is a new technology. They're compressing it. That compressing of data is probably heavy on the processors. And I'm not making any excuses. But remember, guys, we come from the 640 by 480 era. Like, that was considered to be high rendered graphics. Remember when Quarterback Club, you had to have the RAM expansion pack to play that? And remember when we first was like, wow, that looks pretty impressive. Now today, I'm being real. We were just talking about the Lord of the Rings even. We were talking about the fact that you have where movies were going 15 frames per second. Now they're over here trying to make every game go allegedly a solid 30 to 60. I heard Destiny, I think, could get all the way up to 120 frames per second if you have the right television.
It can get all the way up, yeah. So PvP, if you have the right refresh rate, you have to have a monitor like a 18 by 1820 by like 6. It's some weird specs out there, but the refresh rate has to be like 120 hertz of refresh rate, and actually PvP moves at 120 frames. The regular game moves at 60 frames. Cutscenes are still 30 frames. So it's like, you know, back in the day when we went from, you know, like the GameCube to the N64, and we were talking about, hey man, you know, like graphics hurt my eyes. You know, a little bit here, we'll start to be able to see, okay, yeah, this game is running at, you know, 40 frames. This game is running at, you know, 30 frames. You'll be able to see the small subtleties, but, you know, because what they're actually supposed to be using in a lot of these different technologies, even with ray tracing, is supposed to auto-populate it for you. So it's supposed to, so as a developer, from how I've heard, is that once you set the game clock to, like, you know, obviously you set, because most of these open world games do run off of a 24 minute to maybe 48-minute cycle. So the game is supposed to populate the like shadows and everything like that for you, so that way the game designer doesn't have to go in and actually write and draw every mountain and every tree and how it, you know, that's all supposed to populate by itself.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Nintendo went through with Breath of the Wild and the Korok Forest.
Yeah.
It wasn't that it wasn't already made and that, you know, it was there. The problem is that as soon as you go into that area, 20,000 grass blades populate. And so that's why the game went from 30 frames to 10 frames, you know, until they patched it. So the technology is there. It's just that I guess the processing power or the GPU, you know, as you said, you're compressing 4K, you know, resolution, you know, on the game. Even if your TV can't handle it, the system believes that it's 4K and it's supposed to be producing 4K graphics. So it's going to try to meet that demand, you know. And so if you're, you know, doing that as a developer, that there has to be a middle ground, because even the 3090, when New Worlds came out, some gamers 3090s, that brand new processor was burning up trying to run New World. And you're talking about a $2,000 processor, man. Come on, bro. Like, so I'm fighting somebody. $2,000? Like, nah. You know,
that's
so
one of the reasons why I never liked the idea of PC gaming to some degree.
Yeah, it costs too much.
Things that could go wrong. Like, remember when they used to have like the Voodoo graphics chips and everything like that?
Yeah, I remember that.
We had Microsoft with the red ring of death. Nobody likes to remember that era. We had that era where we had consoles that were dying left and right.
But even there, you're talking about just $30 to $40 to repair.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Yeah, but we're talking about full on $2,000-$3,000. Like, when you're talking about that your graphics chip is the equivalent of what a whole MacBook would be.
That's more than buying a Switch, an Xbox Series X, and a PlayStation 5 standard model. That's almost 2 times the amount to get a 3090. Why would I buy that?
Well, and it's crazy. Like I said, I don't personally feel like I'm looking at anything new coming out and it's like I paid this much money to have this performance.
Yeah.
Or I'm now seeing things that could not be done 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't think anything we're seeing on PlayStation 5 yet. Maybe it's coming with games like Grand Theft Auto 6. I don't think anything you're saying that, yeah, they couldn't have done this on the PlayStation 4, you know? And so I think that's been, you know, historically, I think that's sort of been the allure of switching consoles is that, you know, you get the SNES. You couldn't do this on the NES. You get the 64. You couldn't do this on the SNES. You get the GameCube. You couldn't do this on the previous one. You get the you know, all the different PlayStation 3s and 4s, and, you know, you couldn't have done these things on the previous console.
Yeah.
And now you're paying for something completely new. And I mean, and really just with the development cycles of video games, and how long they're taking to make, how much longevity are you actually getting out of a system? I was thinking about that point you made a couple of weeks ago when you were talking about how we haven't actually really seen too many actual Switch games.
Yeah.
So a lot of the Switch games we've seen, even if you want to talk about Breath of the Wild, remember Breath of the Wild released
That's your Wii U game.
on the Wii U.
Yeah.
So games like Mario Odyssey were a Switch game.
Yeah.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, that's a Switch game.
Yes, it is.
But there's many games that have come out. Some of the most popular ones, Mario Kart 8, that's a Wii U game. And that's a Wii U game.
Which is about to get 25 new tracks.
Yeah. Which I think
Crazy.
which I think is great because
I mean 48 new tracks at $25.
Yeah.
My fault.
Which I think is great because
It is.
playing for Mario Kart. Basically, too bad they haven't been supporting it through DLC like they did with Smash Bros.
Yeah.
It was crazy that they weren't because it's their highest selling game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though it's sort of been neglected to have any DLC, Mario Kart 8 has been the highest seller. And
It's just a great value. It's great value for it.
yeah. And rather than, because I heard rumors that they were going to be coming out with Mario Kart 9, and some people being snarky and disappointed that Mario Kart 9 didn't get announced. But I sort of feel like with games like Mario Kart and Smash Bros, it just doesn't make sense to release multiple iterations on one console. That's like a once a console thing. So I would rather whatever the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be in some, 3-4 years, I would rather see Mario Kart 9 sort of delayed to the launch of that, or maybe the first year. And the same thing with the next Smash Bros. I wouldn't want to see them come out with the new Super Smash Bros. On the Switch. I mean, you could have just kept bringing out new characters.
I'll throw this in there too. I'll throw this. I'm a battery nunchuck this in there real quick. I think the reason why they actually were planning to develop another Mario Kart, but I think the reason why they took the time with it because Nintendo is very, very smart about how they manage their assets. And that's the one thing Nintendo is exceptional at. Like, let's manage the assets better. And I think with the controversy of the Nintendo Switch's online experience and whatnot, because you remember it was like, it's going to release for I think $50 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
For the year.
Yeah, for a year of service.
Yeah.
But they already said that either you could pay for the DLC or you get that and it's free. Well, think about it. Animal Crossing is also the upgrades for that are free because you have it.
Yeah.
Now, this will be free too. You're literally looking at 2 premier video games getting support. And even really, if you think about 48 tracks, listen, I'm old school. Back in the day, you were looking at 24
They're
tracks.
bringing in Choco Mountain from N64. That's it. That's it. N64, I don't care what anybody says. People talk about Double Dash, all this other junk. Mario Kart 64 is the best Mario Kart. Hands down. There's no Mario Kart that
You only
here.
called the greatest because that was the one that gave you the greatest achievement. When somebody got mad at you and grounded you from
the No, because the game was actually balanced. It's like the blue shell hit everybody. It didn't just hit one person. It didn't fly over everybody else and just hit the person. That's the main thing I hate about the blue shell in the current iterations because you're at a detriment for being in first place at 200cc. It's a waste of time, like sandbag. But but that right there to me, I mean, I just said Switch Online. It's a great value add. I just wanted to throw in there of the price of the 3090 is that it's $2,111. So you're talking about again almost 2 times the price, almost completely 2 times the price of owning a Switch, a Series X, and a PlayStation 5.
Ain't no way.
Ain't no way.
Exactly. No way.
Ain't no way.
No way. Ain't no way.
And let's make sure we say the OLED Switch too.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I want to say a few of the stories we can get into. We can talk about Horizon. I know IGN gave it a 9 out of 10, right? Right, Thomas?
9.25 is what Game Informer gave it, and then GameSpot actually just gave it an 8. So
An 8. Okay.
I'm kind of interested to see what IGN gives it.
I think on their page, because I was on their page. I'm trying to go back and forth with about my phone. Can't handle this. I need to get my laptop. But I believe IGN gave it a 9. They talked about some of the things. Skill up. Talked about that the game is gorgeous. The environments, because they were like Aloy was like the driving point for the first game. It really focused on her, but they felt that this game, the best parts of this game is not even Aloy, is more so everybody else. How they've completely, even because I know one of the complaints of the first game was it was the facial models, so like they didn't really have a lot of emotion in the animations, where they were like they is like Gorilla Games has stepped up in that department to where a lot of the complaints that everybody had in the first game, different characters, character models, all of those things were like answered in part 2, to where the only complaint that I've heard, and if you really care about, I guess it is a big complaint, is pop in. I know Breath of the Wild had some pop in, but they had such an incredible draw distance on the game.
Yeah,
You really didn't see it.
Yeah,
The like draw distance on that game, everything was kind of it was purposely spaced out, because you could see the divine beast, especially the one crawling on Mount Doom. Exactly. You could see it. You could see Vomito flying around in the northwest space.
And you can see almost any of the towers from any point.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
To me, man, listen, Zelda was so perfect in my opinion in terms of, because I agree with you with the draw distance, but I think people don't understand what also made Zelda so great is that you could go anywhere you wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
You had the skills and the ability to survive.
Almost from the start of the game.
So the only thing you could not get that literally set a precedence on what you could not get was the Master Sword. For anybody who still ain't played it, 28 million cells later, you had to have 38 heart pieces in order to get it. I spoiled the game, and I still ain't spoiled it because I ain't told you about the other things you could do. But anyway, that was the but also with the fact that the game gave you the ability to explore every nook and cranny of it, and I still feel like I haven't explored it. I was looking over my map one day over where I've been, and I was still finding places that I ain't even been yet, and I completed the game. So it's one of those things where Zelda was just an incredible experience, and I'm thankful that Nintendo actually made it, because I don't really think that anybody has really made. I mean, you had like Grand Theft Auto, but I'm talking about like in the vein of like sorcery, things that gave you the ability to go hunt and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, there hasn't really been a lot of games like that besides maybe Monster Hunter.
Yeah,
and
I would say.
I was gonna say maybe something like Skyrim. I've never actually played Skyrim, but
Skyrim. I played Skyrim.
I never will play Skyrim.
I played it. I didn't beat it because of the game. I mean, I know I was doing. I'm a gamer that if I see something, I'm gonna go and investigate it. It took me forever to beat Breath of the Wild the first playthrough. I was like maybe 50 hours, 60 hours into the game before I actually beat it, because I was exploring the whole time.
Yeah. Sometimes that game, he said, "Okay, this is what I'm gonna go do today." But what is that in the distance?
Exactly.
Go find out what that is.
Exactly. And so I was like, I never beat Skyrim, but obviously I know how the game ends. But yeah, I mean, as far as Swords and Sorcery goes, you've had games that like dabble in, crafting, but no one really goes all the way into it in the modern era, besides maybe a Fallout game with a crafting system and that.
Yeah.
I know the first Horizon game had crafting in it, because you had to craft all of her bows, or you would buy them from the shop, but it was cheaper to craft them. Yeah. Her like armors as well, you would craft that. Same way in Breath of the Wild, how like you would either find the like armor in the wild, or you would have to go and buy it in town. Because like the game didn't have a real economy, just like Breath of the Wild doesn't. you literally go and find stuff and then sell it. So the like ores and different things like that. Once you got good at the game, you realize after the blood moon, everything came back. Then for like me, that like meant farm time. All right, time to go farm. Time to go and beat up some either rock taluses or go back to a place that either spawned diamonds or like topaz or like rubies.
Yeah.
I would go back there exactly and do that whole thing again. End up making 500 to like $1,000 in like 20 minutes because I knew exactly where everything was at. And then even one of my like favorite parts of Breath of the Wild, which is a totally optional quest, is building Link's house.
Yeah.
In the best town in the game, Hateno Village, with the best soundtrack. So I was like, that right there was always fun. Just weird stuff you would find in the game.
Yeah, meanwhile, Zelda was up there battling for her life.
Exactly.
She's like, I'm fighting for my life.
I'm fighting for my life.
I, just to touch on Horizon, very happy to see that it actually has good scores because one of my fears for some of these games coming out has been it's like when I told you Cyberpunk. I didn't think it was going to be a good game, and then lo and behold, it came out and it wasn't a good game.
Yeah,
and it's like there's so many games that are coming out and they get so much hype around them, and it's like, dude, either you have to hit the grand slam game-winning drive, or you're not going to make it because there's so many people who are already they have their expectations at 10, and a 9.9 doesn't make it now.
Yeah,
exactly. They're not gonna cut it.
Yeah. And I'm very happy to see that one. But I'm still holding my breath for Elden Ring too, because has all this.
I mean, From Software has a pretty good track record going right now. They won Game of the Year with Sekiro. Bloodborne was also received pretty well.
Yeah.
And even from the previews of Elden Ring, everyone has liked it. But I do agree. I am waiting to see because I know it got delayed. I think it's right past Witch Queen. I think first it's Horizon, Witch Queen on the 22nd. I think Elden Ring is March 5th. Is when that game is supposed to come out. Okay. Yeah, next month on the 5th.
I thought it was the 25th of this month, but I guess maybe it got pushed back.
You know what? You might be right. It was you might be right. Yeah, because I know it had caught a delay from. Because it was supposed to come out in January, but it caught a delay. So you might be right. It might be the 25th of this month. I would say on the Cyberpunk front, they did just announce that the upgrades for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X have gone live in the game. So what was that? Almost 2 whole years since the game launched. And 2020, they've finally fixed it.
Well, and I would like to see a lot of publications almost revisit their reviews to actually say, well, has it actually gotten better? Because they gave it kind of poor reviews, unfortunately. Yeah. And I would love to see them revisit them and say, did this game go from being a 7.25 to a 9 now? With all the or is it still not worth playing?
Mediocre. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's just like we're talking about, like Mario Kart. You don't think that with the new Mario Kart DLC, it's not virtually going to be a brand new game. It's like even when like I haven't had much time that I've been playing Animal Crossing. It's just because I'm busy, man.
Got a real life. So
it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard playing life when you got a real life. But the thing about it though is that there are a lot of great little nifty little things about it that make that game definitely addictive. Like I can completely see why people are addicted to that game. Julius gets on the game for 5 minutes. He's on that thing for the whole day after that, like it's just because there's like little things that you can do in the game, and so, I think I do agree with you. Sometimes I think they should actually go back and when you have a game that changes that much, because even at the time, I think they said that the Cyberpunk game was literally going to have like 2 gigs worth of downloadable content. They're going to be going back and fixing it. That's virtually a brand new video game at that point,
Well, and again, for me, they should have just never released it when they did. And that's what happens when investors nowadays start getting involved.
Yeah.
Is that you're releasing games that should have never been released and you gotta patch them up. It's like when BioWare released that game. What was that one game called that BioWare came out with where it had the guys flying around in like the mech suits?
Anthem.
It's like, they were trying to build up hype around that one, and they were building it up because it was like on the hills or on the coattails of everything else BioWare has ever done. And it's just like, it looks great. I mean,
it doesn't play great,
but
it looks great.
Everybody's trashing the game when it comes out, and then it's like, oh, we're releasing a patch, and we're releasing a patch.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think many times that initial response is a bit too much to overcome. If you pissed off everybody, I bought this game for $60, and let's say if you bought the physical copy, now you probably went back and sold it to GameStop. Are you now going to go back and buy it again?
No,
probably
no.
not.
No, because that's the thing is that as much as I panned Destiny when it first came out, one thing Destiny had going for it was what? The Bungie mechanics.
Yeah.
The doggone shooting in the game, top notch.
Yeah.
The like combat, the like PvP, top notch. The game is still being played, but like, they just did because they did the Destiny report. And just last week, over 1 million people logged in to play the game, and there was nothing new in the game. And there's not been anything new, since almost 5 months ago. There's not been anything new until like today, but that doesn't account for the activity in the game, which is why, because some folks like Michael Pachter, who's never right. I don't even know how this guy is an analyst. Don't know who he knows.
No.
But
Michael Pachter works for who does he work for? It's a company where he's an analyst. He just talks about cells and projections.
Yeah.
And whatever.
Yeah. But he totally, we're talking about how it was a bad purchase from Sony. It's like Sony literally said the reason why they bought Bungie was so that Bungie could help them build their own infrastructure for a live service game. Destiny has been the only successful live service game that's been out.
So they just buy them. They invested. They're investing right there.
They're investing because plus two, what no one's talking about, what they also did for each developer is that they matched their like salary and also kept them and even increased some of the salaries. That's why it came out to $3.6 billion.
Yeah,
because you're keeping the developers there. Because if you buy the studio but everybody else leaves, what did you buy?
Well, I mean, isn't that what happened with Rare? Is that what happened with
Exactly.
Rare? Like,
that's what happened with Rare. All you did was buy a name.
Yeah,
that's it.
The Stamper Brothers were out of there. All the guys, Kid Lob was out of there. Most of them went to Free Radical.
Yeah.
Most of them went out to different studio houses. And so then you basically, if you're Microsoft, you ended up buying like a husk of Rare. You didn't actually buy the company.
You bought the rights to all the intellectual property.
Yeah.
But that's really it. I mean, you can, you can revive the game and port it on to whatever, but you're not going to get the new games to come out with that same talent. And I don't know how Microsoft really went about assembling the 343 studio that's carried on the Halo series, but they did a really good job with that because they had the potential after Bungie left for Halo to go south and never recover, but they were able to sort of pass that right along to a new studio, and that's probably been the most successful thing I've ever seen, going from one studio to the next. But many studios can't do that. We talked about Rare, where it's like, oh, we bought the company, and it's like, yeah, but everybody left, so what did you buy? And
exactly.
Blizzard has seen a bit of that over the years. There's been some top level talent at Blizzard to leave the company. I know BioWare, they've had a number of people leave. That's why you don't see the same quality coming out of BioWare. I would say Blizzard, the best thing about them is that they know when not to release a game.
Yeah.
There's been all these years for when's this game going to come out? When's Diablo 4 coming out?
Well, it's
How about when it's done?
You know, and it's like it'll come out when it's ready, you know, and that's the best answer because you know you can get parent like a Nintendo has done for years when Twilight Princess got delayed and you know Skyward Sword got delayed and now Breath of the Wild got delayed and maybe Breath of the Wild 2 gets delayed, but guess what, when the game comes out people love them, you know. Even if they don't love Skyward Sword in retrospect, people love, go look at the game score on Metacritic, where it got a 93 across the industry, or a 91 or a 93. People like the game when it came out. Well, now you go to a BioWare or a CD Projekt Red, until you come out with another game that's really good, you've damaged your reputation.
Exactly.
You know, because now people are like, I don't know, like CD Projekt Red coming off of The Witcher 3, and it's like, dude, this is one of the best studios in the industry.
Yeah.
CD Projekt Red coming off of Cyberpunk 2077. This is one of the most overhyped studios in the industry.
Exactly.
And so it's like, you know, your reputation means a lot. You know, Rockstar will never have to battle for sales because Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, you know, people are gonna be lined up. Now let Grand Theft Auto 6 be a piece of trash. All right, good luck releasing 7. You know,
but here's the problem: is that once you get, it's like there's a song from an artist. I cannot remember her name right now, but she had the song about when people build you up just to eventually tear you down. So you just gotta keep building. You just gotta keep building, and you know, I feel like that's exactly where Rockstar has executed better than just about anybody else in the game. Is that first off, pay attention whenever they release Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto is a video game. It's a full-on freaking experience.
Yeah.
That game easily has about 80 to 90 hours worth of content right off the.
As I've said before, Rockstar said that game costs over $268 million to make Grand Theft Auto 5.
Can I add one? I'm Jerome, and I say, and I believe it.
Exactly.
I believe it. I mean, because that game was so. If we're being real, it's one of the most luxurious video game experiences that you can have because it has everything from modern day content to the music, to the layout of the land, to all the different places you go, to all the different, like, how many doggone recording sessions did they have for this freaking game? You're talking about line on top of line, bar on top of bar, interaction on top of interaction.
They still got stuff coming out of the game. Dr. Dre just released 6 new tracks, basically in support of the game. You know?
Dang.
They still have stuff coming out today.
You know, Dr. Dre got to make back that alimony money. You know what I mean? I think she took like $100 million or something, right?
I think he's still a billionaire.
Oh no,
maybe.
Well, here's the thing about it. It's been rumored that he stopped production on purpose back in 2020. He stopped because he had a lot of moves that he's been delaying on because he didn't want to become much more valuable than what he is.
Yeah.
You see, my man, the very first thing he does after divorce is what? Get the Super Bowl. So that should automatically tell you this dude has a bunch of tricks up his sleeve. Like if you could literally put something that was put something on mainstream America that was so considered to be so niche 30 years ago, and not only is it not niche anymore, you got all your proteges on there. Because all that was right. All that was proteges.
And I don't know if y'all got to watch it. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I got to see it. I watched it.
Yeah, I watched it.
You know, having starting out with Dre and Snoop, and then segueing into 50 Cent hanging upside down.
This was like the video, yeah.
Kevin told me that people were saying that 50 Cent looked like he had double in size due to inflation.
Yeah. I just said he went from being 50 cents to a whole dollar.
Well, I mean, here's the thing about it. You got to understand this dude.
He eating
He living good.
The amount of success he's had outside of rapping, like with the shows like Power and stuff.
Yeah.
50 Cent nice.
Like I heard Rick Ross talk to mess. It's like, here's one thing that kind of kills me about whatever, we get on, and I'm just saying, just as a general statement. It's like, we always look at the next man and we disparage.
Yeah.
You don't know what he's going through. You don't know where his steps are taking him. All you know is where you're at. And the one thing you should be able to do is always tip your hat at success. But maybe it's that controversial thing you would have taught mess again, so that way you could get his brand built up. Maybe that's what it is.
You never know what any of it is.
Yeah. But I've never.
I think it's one of those things. They've been beefing for a long time, because I remember a few years ago when Ross was in a coma or whatever, and then 50 Cent put up that meme with the "if he dies, he dies," which is a whole. But so they've been beefing for a long time.
Absolutely, but just what I was saying about 50 is that that's a man whose body has grown, and I ain't talking about just fat. Like, the dude is actually quite muscular. When he first started out in that era, he was a starving artist. That's why he was rapping so hard.
Yeah.
Look at his early stuff on how he's going. He's hungry versus where he is right now. He hasn't released an album in close to 10 years.
But a lot of them, number one, so I think with our generation, we're seeing a complete change in the musical industry, because number one, most artists, let's say 30 years ago in the 90s, you got to 40 years old, you weren't releasing new music like that. You were basically had retired.
On the back end of your career.
And so nowadays, you got artists like Eminem still late in his 40s releasing more music. But then on the other hand of that, though, you have some artists who have gone their way. Like T.I. doesn't release too much nowadays. He still pops up every once in a while. But then you have other artists who have gotten to that sort of level, like Beyonce, Jay-Z, Rihanna is one of them. Rihanna's made more money outside the music industry than she has inside. You're probably not going to see them releasing too much more music. Like I said, Beyonce seems like a special appearance sort of person nowadays.
Yeah.
Jay-Z as well. It was pretty dope seeing Jay-Z pop up on the Donda album. Maybe him and Kanye do a Watch the Throne 2 album.
Yeah.
I don't know that Jay-Z's ever going to really release another standalone album, though. And why should he? I mean, the guy's like bordering on 50 years old. Like I said, and not that he's lost the talent, but we don't really see Snoop Dogg releasing albums like that.
Yeah.
So I think Snoop is about to come out with a new one, and because he just bought Death Row Records or whatever.
Yeah.
And maybe not because of that, but he is coming out with a new album, I've heard.
I think because of that, just to bring some revenue to it. It's like, because you don't like, when you're a person like 50 or M or even Snoop, Cube, any one of the NWA, Dre, Dre's stuff is, if you listen to Dre's music, right, and you compare it to sonically and even the way that it's put together, it's as good as anything you're going to find in the history of music.
Yeah.
Oh, sample driven. It doesn't matter.
I hate when people say stuff like that to try to discredit somebody.
I
mean, at the end of the day, he sells. So people apparently like that sample driven music.
Exactly. But it's just you're talking about poetry being put over dope beats. And you're talking about using everything from nostalgia to push the music. You're talking about using anything from what inspired that artist in that moment to put that together. Like, those are real things right there.
Yeah.
For a lot of people like Snoop, like Dre, like even Kendrick. Like, to me, my favorite performance up there was Kendrick when he had the brothers out there. My man said they were looking like another bad creation from Meteor Man. Said the brothers grew up, and now they over there they did Robert Townsend dirty and Meteor Man. Then he said, I was halfway expecting Don Cheadle to show up inside. But I thought Kendrick did a great job. I thought M did a good job. I thought 50 Cent did a great job. I didn't like the fact that Eminem tried to make it about himself at the wrong time, because this is clearly a celebration of the music that had culminated at that point. You go in, nobody else is doing that, but you do it. Like, I just find that fascinating and weird. But Dre was up there clearly doing his thing. Like, he was stroking it from when he was on the piano, giving us a little bit of that Still Dre, giving us even giving us that Casey and JoJo Don't Take Your Love. It's like he was. You had Mary J. Blige doing her thing up there too. She looks great, you know. Snoop up there sea-walking, like, dude, like 60 years old. You know, and it was just, to me, it took me back to my childhood. It took me back to that era of just loving hip hop and enjoying the music and just enjoying the vibe. That was probably, honestly, that's probably the best halftime Super Bowl show I've seen since Corrects.
I don't know. I feel like there has been some really good Super Bowl shows recently, and I thought definitely, in my opinion, Bruno Mars,
Beyonce
was Bruno Mars when he did his own, by himself. You know, he and Beyonce came back with Coldplay. Beyonce was good as well.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm obviously not a huge like Katy Perry fan or something, but she did okay, and so did Lady Gaga.
Yeah, definitely.
What's his name last year? Starboy.
Weekend.
Yeah, he did all right.
Yeah, he did good too.
So I think we've had like a lot of. I think the NFL has rightfully sort of embraced the sort of contemporary artists rather than trying to go get Tom Petty and the Heartbreak. And people are like, who are these guys?
Exactly.
I never even heard of Tom Petty in my life.
No one's listening to that.
You know,
no one's listening to that.
You know, and I feel like, you know, at that point they were doing that after it was like, well, they kind of went too far with the Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake thing. Yeah. And now, okay, well, let's get some more conservative groups. And then now it's kind of gotten back to all right, well, we can do it, but guys.
Because remember, at one point in time, they had Michael Jackson. At one point in time, they had, and again, that's still one of my all-time.
I mean, if we're being honest, you're talking about what they did on Sunday was tame compared to some of the other stuff we've seen. You know, with certain artists, WAP being song at the Grammy, which is the national televised event. So what happened on Sunday is tame in comparison to that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but I do feel like that all the artists were sort of respectfully on their best behavior. I think, you know, 50 Cent's portion of In the Club with the girls twerking was like probably the most risque that performance got all together.
Yeah.
But
50 wasn't grabbing anything.
So there was a lot of people saying, Snoop Dogg is going to get up there and smoke a joint on stage, you know. And normally he probably would have. But I think at the end of the day, they also recognize as a business, because the NFL opening up their doors to them, get up here and do anything stupid. And then next generation from, y'all niggas don't know how to act. You can't get a Kendrick Lamar in the future. You can't get you can't get a J. Cole up there in the future. Because now, y'all have to go ahead and show out. Because guess what the next wave is? Maybe it's a Kanye getting up there. He has that status.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, he has it right now. He's one of the hottest fans in music right now.
Kanye, like, if you just really think about it, he's had one of the strongest careers in the history of music. Like, when you think about the impact of each of his albums when they came out, then the success of them, like, you know, I think it, like, maybe on a critical level, obviously not the sales level, I think he's had a better career than Eminem has had.
Bro, listen.
As an
you want to talk about, but if you want to also, here's the thing about, you're looking from an album standpoint, and that's fair.
Yeah.
Look at it from a producer
standpoint. As a producer, Kanye West is a madman as a producer.
He's like,
a lot of the tracks he's done.
Dude, we're talking about everything from working with artists from Alicia Keys to even like the Lupe Fiascos, the Kid Cudis, the J. Cole's. Like, they showed J. Cole and Kendrick and Kanye West sitting by side in the game, and I was like, please tell me this is happening.
I'm thinking next year though they might try to get Ye and what's his name and Drake. That's what I'm thinking. Because they've squashed that beef. The only
they never even had it.
exactly. It was sales. It was sales.
You
It's
know,
business.
It's
It's
funny
business.
when you look at Kanye and you talk about he been I got there spilling all his text messages and stuff, and you'll see like, oh, he put Jay-Z and Travis Scott and the whole Kardashian family in the group text. It was going off on them. It's like it's been like all this time. I feel like, I don't know, it's like all this time, all of this stuff is just being done in the background, and like they all know, like yeah, release some text messages, like we gonna all make some money. Like Drake and like the whole Drake and Kanye beef. It's like, okay, like y'all slaying each other in the media, and then like 4 months later, y'all chilling it up, you know?
Exactly, y'all were chilling out.
Come on, man.
Yeah, because it's kind of like the game in 50 Cent, because bullets were flying in that. Bullets were flying.
You don't see them dudes chilling today.
Man, not at all.
Nah,
and it was so funny because I thought the funniest thing that I heard was the game was talking. He was talking about, because one of the guys said, yeah, because Michael Jackson had called me up and he asked if, he and 50 Cent could make up. And he said that we could all do an album together. And he said, and I think it was Noriega, he was like, wait a minute. Michael Jackson, the Michael Jackson. He said, yes. He called you and 50 up and tried to see if y'all could squash the beef so y'all could make an album with him. And he was like, and it was like, it looked like it just hit the game right then. They're like, oh. That actually did happen. Because it's like all of a sudden you start realizing that Michael Jackson is the half owner of Sony Records. They never gave Michael Jackson the status of billionaire. Michael Jackson was a billionaire.
Yeah. Only thing people ever talked about with him was how much money he was spending on Neverland Ranch.
But they never talk about how much money he had to be accruing to be able to spend that type of money.
Exactly.
And do it like that as if it's nothing. And Michael Jackson was spending money like, I really thought he's broke. And I was like, y'all don't understand.
The dude owns the Beatles masters.
He owns the Beatles catalog if you broke.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but broke to who?
Right, bro. That's what I'm talking about. It's like if he owns Sony Music or half of Sony Music, wasn't Mariah Carey on Sony Music?
Yes, bro. Jennifer Lopez.
The Beatles. Like, come on, stop the cap.
Sony owns, wait a minute. Sony owns Epic Records. Sony owns Columbia.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, it's like he was broke on a scale if you're comparing to Saudi lords.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Because
An Arabian prince.
if you make $115,000, you're in the top 15% of income earners in the world for $115,000. That's exceptionally great. Well, increase that by roughly what? About another 1,000-fold? That's 115 million. Michael was saying, "Oh, let me go check my back pockets. I might have a couple million in there." I mean, that's the Michael was so rich, and again, I know we're all over the map on it, but it's just, I don't know. I just always felt like when it come down to what they did last night or just a few days ago, it was exceptional. I enjoyed the heck out of it, and I was really happy to see, like you said, they were trying to. But it's kind of like when I was telling folks, like, Michael Jackson knew that he was the guy who was paving the way for other artists because there were other artists who paved the way for him. He constantly paid tribute to James Brown. He constantly paid tribute to those guys, to the Jackie Wilsons even. When they had the story of Michael Jackson, they didn't have to mention Jackie Wilson. They didn't have to mention James Brown. But Michael Jackson was a person who constantly mentioned those guys. He mentioned people like Fred Astaire. He mentioned those different artists and dancers and so on and so forth. And so I always felt like Michael was like, okay, I got to be so nice with it that I got to make it so that we can have the Usher Raymond's, the Chris Browns, and the Maricron, Marians, the B2Ks, the Jagged Edges, the Keith Sweats, all the other artists, the Genuines, even all these other artists that we've had at post or even after Michael had jumped off on the scene. Like, there were a lot of artists who jumped off because there was a Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And because there was a Michael Jackson, because there was a Jackie Robinson, as well as James Brown, there was a Michael Jackson. So I'm assuming that his attitude was make sure that I leave the baton to be passed to somebody else, i.e. Dre's like, make sure the baton is capable of being passed to a Kanye, a Cole, any one of these young rappers. Hopefully one day he gets everything together, a Travis Scott even, or even the guys beyond Travis Scott. There could be another set of guys who have the opportunity to do it as big as we did it, because it's never about what you take, it's what you leave behind.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna have to go ahead and get off because I'm one of these plebeians who still have a 9 to 5, so I'm gonna leave it to y'all to get us out of here.
Yeah, we can reconvene tomorrow. So I was just about to get off into some anime discussion, see if anything else was new. But for sure, we can come back.
We have extra content. We left some meat on the bone.
No,
Yeah.
Tomorrow night or the night?
Yeah, I have a late shift tomorrow. I get off at 7 again, but Thursday I get off at noon. So we can do we and Thursday for sure, and then we can figure out the recording software too.
Oh yeah.
And we can get some of those old episodes chopped up too.
Yeah.
Some of those. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely, man. All right, man. Well, tonight is tonight.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Let's get to next week and then tomorrow or Thursday.
All right, see y'all soon.
Later.
Later.